South Africa's maritime sector is one of the industries that contribute immensely to the country's GDP with billions of rands each year. According to the Transport Department, 85% of South Africa's trade comes or goes by sea. Now, to help us understand the importance of the country's maritime sector, I'm joined by Nondumiso Mfenyana, who is the Executive Secretariat of Maritime Business Chamber. Nondumiso, thank you for making time for us. The country has a long and colorful recorded maritime history, which I think dates back to the 15th century. What is the state of our maritime industry right now?
Good afternoon to you, Clement, and good afternoon to the viewers. My name is Nondumiso Mfenyana, as you have indicated, and I'm the Executive Secretariat of the Maritime Business Chamber. The state of maritime in our country has tremendously improved. However, there are still areas that are still, taking a toll because of a number of things. The transformation elements. There's also, if you look at the fisheries that are declining stocks, and if you look at the infrastructure that is deteriorating, the administrative burdens and the cost of doing business in the maritime industry at large has hampered the growth of the sector tremendously. So that hence we are here, and we actually appreciate the opportunity to come and speak on these areas, and hopefully, they will get into ears that will hear our concerns in making sure that the South African maritime industry grows. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll speak specifically about some of these challenges and where you think interventions are needed. But I wonder if we are exploring sufficiently this sector, because South Africa is a strategic African hub for maritime operations, and I think our government was realizing this at some point. That's why they've made efforts to prioritize the ocean's economy through things like Operation Phakisa. And I think at the time, the aim was to grow the industry's contribution to the country's GDP to over 120 billion rand or so by 2033. And it's possible, right? But have we fully explored the potential of this sector? Because it's huge.
To answer your question, I do not think we have fully explored the potential of the maritime industry. It is quite vast indeed. And South Africa is very much fortunate. It's a fortunate country because it has a very vast coastline of over 2,000 kilometers stretch. And in the coastline itself, we have identified a number of sectors, subsectors within the maritime industry, be it oil and gas, be it marine manufacturing and transport, and aquaculture and fisheries. There is also a number of other additional value chain industries that can contribute to the GDP of this country. However, much as we have started these initiatives as the country, because remember, we're not only looking at the national strategic documents that we have and the interventions thereof, including Operation Phakisa, we also have to respond to the global sustainable developmental goals. That speaks to the national developmental goals, which indeed aligns itself to the Operation Phakisa, and hence to date we have, as a country, started a strategic plan or an implementation plan called the Oceans Economy Master Plan. However, we need now to get to the implementation phase. Much as we have all these subsectors, there are still a number of hurdles. I mean, even in your headlines now, you were mentioning the issue of load shedding. I'm sitting on load shedding as it is. And we are a blessed country, I must say. And that's what we believe in as the chamber, that, we need to take advantage of the fact that this country has got the natural resources that have not fully tapped into. If you look at the oil and gas, the offshore oil and gas, now we have been told, it has been proven that there's been development, there's been developments in that area around exploration of offshore oil and gas, We're sitting with the issue of load shedding that we can even have an answer to. If we look at the fishing industry, yes, our government has done a good work, especially in the allocation of fishing rights for small-scale fishers. However, there's issues of infrastructure. There's 8 commercial harbors in commercial ports in the country as it is, 12 fishing harbors, but none of the fishing harbors, there are no fishing harbors in the Eastern Cape and other areas that have been allocated the small-scale fishing rights. So there's a couple of things around infrastructure which we believe that, you know, if the country could begin to prioritize in those things, we will then realize this 177 billion that is anticipated by Operation Pakistan in the various sectors. I mean, if you look at the shipping register in the country itself, we have less than 10 vessels that are registered in our shipping register as it is, and we're training cadets, and we do not have beds for those cadets because there are no South African registered vessels. So there's quite a lot that needs to be done to realize that 177 billion. And I mean, time is moving and something needs to be done, and we need to take advantage of the fact that it is a reality that we are a maritime nation, but whether we are doing the right things, it is moving at a very slow pace.
So what can be done then to realize this full potential? Because this is an industry, as you've indicated, that's quite significant. There's a contribution towards the world economy, even especially from shipping transportation. So maybe we can, let's start by talking about decarbonizing. What's the plan? Because there's always been a lot of talk about going green, you know, the maritime in the future, looking after the environment, etc. And you mentioned earlier explorations, and I wonder where you think the balance is, because, you know, we've got resources in this country that we can use to help grow our economy, to create jobs. So is there a way we can do so without severe consequences to, you know, marine life, also consequences on communities as well? Because these are the tensions that often arise, and, you know, matters end up going to the courts, and then it takes time, and then sometimes investors are like, we can't do this, let's go elsewhere where we are allowed to even do these explorations.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I mean, if we look at, if we want to say we are a sustainable country, we are concerned, we are environmentally concerned, I agree and fully support that. And I think we need to begin to be a sustainable, developed country where we will not only look at the environmental concern, but we also look into the socio-economic aspect. I mean, the country is at its knees as we speak. The issue of unemployment, the issue of job creation, investors are moving away because there's load shedding. There's a couple of things that are happening which we need to have that integrated approach in the development of our country and utilization of the resources that we have in a sustainable manner. Yes, there is a need to have that collective approach in making sure that we do not deteriorate the resources that we have. If we look into the fishing industry, we can't say there are no challenges. There are challenges, but it only needs a collective and an integrated approach into the areas of maritime.
Yeah. What are some of the structural obstacles that exist in the industry, especially to new entrants? And I wonder if those changes will require any legislative changes.
If we look at the maritime industry, it is very transformed. That's the number one challenge. We as the Maritime Business Chamber, we stand for transformation. Yes, we're looking into the business support, but we stand for making sure that the industry is transformed. All sectors of the industry. We do not look into a specific industry, but rather across board. And the second thing, I think it has the issue of administrative burden, the cost of doing business, and making sure that, you know, goes to even the communities that needs to benefit. But if you take a small business in a community somewhere, and you have all these administrative burdens, being the CIPC that needs to comply, and we're not saying businesses they should not comply, but there's a lot of cost implications into it, the SARS compliance and port licenses, all of those things that they need to have, and on top of that, the processing and the resources, infrastructure, you name it. Not long ago, we were visiting another community that was allocated fishing rights, and those communities are being exploited by established businesses because they do not have the required resources. They do not have boats to go out and fish. They do not have processing establishment when they bring back the fish for processing and selling. Markets, though, that's another issue that's hampering the small businesses in particular. Yeah. So we really feel that there's a couple of things that needs to be looked into to make sure that there's no exploitation, but there's growth with no exploitation. So if you talk about policies that are in place, yes, we do have policies, and we would really looking forward to see the implementation of the maritime transport policy itself. Yes. Because I think it will speak to a number of delayed processes that should have been in place a while back now.
Yeah. What about the role of the private sector? Because the public-private partnerships have proven to be significant. I attended the World Maritime Day parallel event last year in KwaZulu-Natal. I think it was the first time ever that it came to Durban, and it was great to see even the private sector coming on board. Have those partnerships been working? Have we exploited them enough?
The interest of the private sector is very much appreciated, and I think it has a significant role in the growth of the industry itself. I think those partnerships are working to a certain extent, but I think there is still a road to be traveled. There's still a lot to be done to make sure that we establish solid public-private partnerships.
Yeah. Nondumiso Mfenyana, thank you so much.